I don't see John Adamovich.
You want me to look on the
In
map?
other words, you can't miss
You
them.
go?
Right.
The floor is yours. 1530, which is Country Club Pool.
I just want to thank everyone for having me come before the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. One thing that I would like to mention before people start examining the budget, sorry, I've had a bad virus for the past week. The,
I'm a good one.
thanks, James.
You're welcome. I love you dearly, but.
At not the last rec commission meeting, but the one before it, the rec commission, when I presented the budget, asked me to pull out what they thought was additional expenditures that were not related to the pool. In the budget, in the general description, you will see the $104,500 expenditures and then additional $27,000 of additional money that they had asked me not to put in the budget. I wanted to reflect it, make sure everyone understands that that is part of the budget. In talking with Tony after the budget was submitted, I believe that that should be part of the budget and rather than nitpicking on small items, because when we need something, if it's a safety item, the town always supports us. So I don't want to get into a battle of nitpicking small things. So that's why that number is reflected there.
So what is the bottom line number now that you're asking for?
The bottom line item is 104,500 plus the 27,000. We
So that's,
went,
That was last year's.
131.
that was this year.
What's this 128 here? I'm totally confused.
I think the original one, Anthony, that you proposed, that was proposed had the 104,500, and I think this last line here was the revised from last night. Is that correct? So it's 128.
128 plus
Plus
27.
No, that includes.
No, that includes
But I don't think, in other words, if you took the 104.5 plus
It
the
doesn't add up.
27.5 would be 132.
No,
Correct.
It looks like you might have trimmed something.
They
so-
revised some numbers last
can't
night.
They did.
So we want to do 128, that's what we're looking at.
Correct.
128.
Which includes the 27.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so then,
Correct.
so we
This-
want to look at this right here. This right.
Which is right here.
Sorry, Joe.
We don't want to look
sorry,
at
Joe.
There was, last night there were some changes, I guess.
That's okay.
And I did not attend last night's meeting because I was sick. So.
I know.
And you're lucky when you left.
So I'm just curious, I mean, we have a confusion here. Why did they take these things out? These look like obvious pool expenses. Who are, if these things have to be done, who are they anticipating was going to do them? Just a question.
Well, there were a lot of things last year that were on, that Taddy took it upon himself to do, painting this, painting that, things like that.
Okay.
And I think those were what we had discussed 2 meetings ago to take out because they weren't necessarily, they had nothing to do with the pool or rec. It was for the club,
The club.
it's for the club
Golf
itself, the
operation.
building.
Yeah.
So if I can clarify a little, a few of us were there last night for the beginning of the meeting. It seemed that the commission was separating some expenses that they felt a couple years ago in Billy Casper's contract, when we changed their contract and took away the responsibilities for the building, that rec took on some additional work to maintenance of the bathrooms and supplies that were over and above what it would have been for the pool. In other words, they were covering Casper's costs on that as well. So I think they tried to separate it to show you that some of those costs weren't necessarily from the pool, but
They were-
from Casper's operations, because they don't put in towards the restrooms anymore. So there were some of that expenses here that I think they were trying to separate. I don't know how they did it, but I think that's what the goal was. Is that right?
Exactly.
And I was caught with,
I think Pennell wants to
Yeah,
join you.
I
and
just
say
say
something.
something as a recommendation. That's correct. There
a number of expenses that the rec commission feels are not directly related to the pool, and that if the pool were independent, wouldn't have to absorb. But we know they have to get done. You know, somebody has to do them, whether it's Casper or the town or the pool, and they get done through the pool. And so those expenses have been broken out on that sheet, and that's what we think, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I guess some of them actually look to me at least like actually pool related. And of course, there are some things that are not in the pool budget,
Right.
as I understand it, that probably are at least this much, if not more, like water
You're
and
correct.
electricity,
You're
which
correct.
are not reflected. So
Correct.
if anything, this is
Right.
still kind of conservative.
Right,
You know,
correct,
or
yes.
the opposite of conservative.
pool without the water.
Yeah,
I'm not-
Right.
You can't,
not
you just
going-
can't, it's not good for floating.
Don't take-
I mean, unless it's a
don't take-
skateboard park, I mean.
Don't take this the wrong way. I'm not throwing the rec commission under the bus because they helped me
Yeah,
tremendously.
two commissioners.
I know if I don't get hit. But when I first
What
presented the
protection?
budget, I did not
Well,
have
you
these
have to
items
grab.
broken out. They did not approve the budget and they asked me to redo it. Now, at that point, I was under the gun. The budget had to be turned in by January 1st. We did not have a meeting, so that's why I turned.
So at this point, you're projecting a budget of 128 and revenue of 119.5.
We're hoping more. I did.
More,
I want to under promise and over deliver it.
Right. No, we understand.
On that 119.5, how many Woodbridge families are members of the?
It was on the list.
Great.
It was on
It's
one of
actually
them.
on the,
Andy, it's
I
about
didn't bring my stuff.
in about 2014. There were about 60 Woodbridge residents. In 2000.
As
No.
opposed to 17.
40.
Okay, how many? 45?
45 resident members in last season.
45.
And there were, and one of the things that we saw, a very positive, the pool usage was almost near, if you took out 900 people versus 2014. And that was directly related to a lot of people coming on the day passes and coming as guests. So we did not, even though we had less members, the pool was still being used, not as much. But I think this year Billy Casper has offered to help us market the pool, to do some surveys and to get a lot of publicity out there. I'm just going to take heat for this. I don't think I've done a good enough job sending flyers through Beecher Road School to make sure tennis is open. And those kind of things are in place so we can run some tennis, golf, and swimming camps, which were a huge hit when Matt Manchetti was there. So we didn't have all the ducks in line and we were focusing on a lot of things. So we're going to really hit it hard and do the best we possibly can.
One of the things we had looked at for marketing was putting in flyers in the kids' backpacks from Beecher. And it's a great ploy. It's just, all the parents are gonna see it that way.
I have a question. Well, I think you voted last night to unanimously continue the pool. My question is, will there be in this coming year any major capital expense on the pool?
Tony already told me no.
Well,
I already got the script.
That's
Exactly.
Yeah. But can you do it without the capital expense?
We are. I'm not just being pie in the sky. We have 2 new controllers, one for the kiddie pool and one for the main pool. The pumps are in great shape. We fixed it.
Right.
The heater's running well.
Yeah.
I can't predict if something is going to go, but we're sitting in a really good place. Everything's working and working well.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you.
Have you considered any cost-saving measures? I know one of the things, as I understand it about the pool, is the very luxurious towel service. And for the rates we charge and the losses we're seeing, is that something that you've talked about? And perhaps other things that I'm not aware of?
Right. Ellen, I know that's always been a point that we've been talking about towels. I do know as a pool director that has bad varicose veins, the people don't come to the pool to see my legs, but I do say they come to the pool for the towels. And members have told me, if you don't even have water in the pool, we come to use the towels. If the board
It's so nice
Okay,
not
Anthony,
But-
I was with you up to that
I
point.
know. I think if the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance really wants to and trim, it has been an amenity that has attracted families, especially with multiple children. But if that's something that you deem inappropriate, I will follow the lead. But I do know it's an amenity that helps sell memberships.
And do the rates reflect that amenity?
It probably, we have a great product. Our rates probably could go up a little bit, and people would still join because our product is good.
We're talking 6,000 for the towels, right? Did I see that number? For the gas for the towel?
Is that where you're looking?
Quite a bit.
I thought I saw that when I looked through, so I'm just, since we're talking about it, what are we talking about? I thought it was
But
$6,000.
it's so nice not to wash.
Ellen, I did not mean to
I
be
just wanna
silly
know
about
what
that.
we're
I was just.
It's about,
I'll send you my water
I
bill.
thought I saw
Yeah, I
something.
thought it was about
it's about 10, well, there's 3,000 for towel purchases and
Okay,
6,000 for
6,000
propane.
for the
And
propane.
And then there's soap and stuff.
So the purchase
It's a large
should
part of the
replace
budget.
X
That's
amount
all.
each year.
We've had that money in our budget for the past couple years. The past 2 years, that's the first thing I cut out when I noticed some of the membership was down. And Tony and I have been in dialogue with that. We're in desperate need of reordering towels. They get dirty, they get soiled, they get ruined. So we're at a point where if we were gonna use towels, we would have to replenish some. Or not do away with
Or
towels.
have a tiered towel level
Yeah.
membership.
Yeah, a little extra for towel. I don't.
No, I'm serious,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I mean,
Yeah.
the
Surcharge
JCC,
for the towels.
the JCC charges for towels.
Could be done.
Yes, they do.
I'm serious.
I'm serious.
Other pool clubs, do they have a towel service? I don't belong to pools, so I don't know.
Very few they do not. I do know the Woodbridge Club does not have towels. I mean, and people bring their towels. I
You
mean,
can sell tiered
It started
towel.
out because it started out as a country club per se.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes,
we're not
But
a
even,
country
but
club.
Oak Lane didn't either, so.
Right. Well, I know that the JCC charges for that.
Correct, that is correct.
I mean, and they're like,
They're this big.
you can't cover your legs with it. That's for sure.
It was at the Varicose Vein show.
Sorry, I've gone too far.
would you like to see our rates increased, Ellen, to reflect that?
I'm just asking, that's really not my specialty.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
really curious about what you've all talked about, what you've considered, given the projections being very different from the actuals, and we're considering this for next year, just to see how much what detail you've done into to make it as viable a product as possible.
Yeah,
I think
I-
Kendall has something. to
Yeah,
add.
I understand, because I was at the discussion last night. I think the commission sees a couple things. One is that through marketing, through Billy Casper, and the fact that we're cheaper than other alternative in town, we have an opportunity to increase the permanent membership. And two, by advertising the daily use rate, which we feel is not well known by people, we have an opportunity to increase that. And we did say that if the membership numbers and revenue numbers are not approaching what you see on the plan there, that we would have to make cuts, and things like the towel service would be first up. I think the commitment from the commission was to run it at a break even or better. Well, that budget is a slight loss, but is to get it to a break even or better, and that's sort of the plan about how we would get there.
And Ellen, I know you've known that we've been fiscally prudent on it. Like when one of our controllers broke this year, I immediately cut each of my lifeguard shifts, and it was a cost savings of $5,000. I didn't know my other controller was going to break the next month, but at least we were trying to offset it and not move forward blindly and try to fix as much as we possibly could to not incur any outside services.
Of course, that's one of the issues, is the aging infrastructure.
I know.
And that's not,
I know.
it's not your fault,
I
it's just
know.
a fact. Anthony, I know you had asked pool members to write to us, you're sort of lobbying
Right.
for this. And I got a letter from someone today who said that, and actually someone else had mentioned this to me before, that the collection of fees, particularly for day rates, is not carefully monitored. I mean, she said, and I haven't been there, I don't know, she said some individuals simply come to the pool and never join or pay a day rate. And that's something that certainly, particularly if you're going to look more to day rates, would require some attention, if that's accurate. I just want to mention it because that's been brought up a few times.
Right. All I can say is that we probably catch well over 95% of the people walking through the gates. If someone comes through the gate and one of our guards is in the bathroom or refilling their water bottle and they sneak in, I'm not gonna lie that we might miss them. But we know who the members are, who they're not members. And I think well over 95% of people, we collect the day rates from. I know that might be something that, I know we're looking at the day rates, but looking to increase our budget, maybe, I haven't even mentioned this to the commission, maybe we might do away with the day rates. So that, for example, if we have 70 or 80 pool members and we have, say, 40% of the season rain, we've already collected those funds versus not collecting those funds on a day rate. That's one thought that I wanted the rec commission to at least look at that. You know, or maybe,
So to that point, this year, you had more day rates than the year before. This current season that you just finished, did you have more daily rates than you had the year before?
it was, I wouldn't say more, we had a lot of members bringing guests. A lot of members bringing guests,
And your memberships were down.
correct.
So there might be some correlation there of people just saying, well, I'll go when the weather's good or when it's more convenient, rather than sign up to a bigger nut. We don't know if that's true.
It is, we had about 7 members that were members the
Okay.
previous year
Went to like.
that did
when
it
they
this
won.
year, correct.
Okay. So to that, your projection is that you basically you lost 30% of membership and you're hoping to get the 30% back, 60 to 80 or 62 to 80.
Right.
But you're hoping as well to get more day people to come for the day rate or as guests or whatever it may be. So you're hoping for more general usage so that you're collecting a little more on both ends.
If the rec commission wants me to do that, yes.
And
Yeah.
the idea is to market it different, better, and to more people.
Right.
And that'll help you bring all ships will rise. But
Correct.
If there's water.
if there's water, we have to pay for the water. Okay?
We'll bring our buckets and fill it up.
It seems like a very important assessment is attracting too many people to day rates because, and discouraging memberships. So that really keeps revenues down. If you make the day rates very reasonable, which they are, I think there are a lot of people who will stick to the day rates and that doesn't really get you to your benchmark.
Correct.
That's how it looks to me.
Correct.
Well, or are there people that would otherwise go somewhere else and pay a membership, but we might find the ability to pay a day rate attractive? And can we get those people?
The other thing
I
we,
think that was the sort of the balancing
what we
consideration.
originally started before you joined was, it used to be if you wanted a day rate, great, but you were only allowed 5 day rates per year.
Right, well, that makes sense.
And that
That
made
makes sense.
an awful lot of sense.
So it's like a test
Unfortunately, the lifeguards didn't know who would pay, you know.
You didn't have a
if
list
you had
of
been
who
here
paid the
before,
day. How
if
do
you
you
would
keep
not
track?
have been here. But a lot of families
So you can test.
would come on weekends, and if they're only allowed 5 weekends, they're gonna think twice.
Yeah.
That's good.
I do believe there should be a test day or 2 or 5.
Right.
So
Or
you
increase the
come
rates
see what
double,
you're missing.
to double what they were. Instead of $50 a day for a Woodbridge family, maybe it should be $100 a day for a Woodbridge family.
Can I ask a question on the
Nice.
revenue end?
That's also, can we also, just on that thing,
Right.
the problem is with Casper, a lot of people would go into the pro shop to get a pass for the day, and what Casper was charging was entirely different from what.
Jane, there was some mistakes based on who was working the computer. But on the whole, the
We got 'em.
rates were charged. There were times that someone made a mistake and they have our rates and didn't charge them. And I saw the rate and I went over and I said, just want you to know this is not our day rate. Okay, so there was a couple of those. And that happens when you're working with people.
So, to my last point about, it appears you're hoping for or projecting that 30% increase back from 62 to 80. But on your revenue sheet, I see 2016 adopted budget, then projected budget, but the 2017 proposed budget shows the same revenue. And if you're projecting 30% higher and more day raters, why isn't the revenue higher? What is the reason that that shows as the same as last year. I'm confused as if we're basically gonna raise memberships and day rates at say 25-30%, why is the revenue showing as the same?
We haven't raised the rates yet. We haven't.
I don't mean the rates. You're projecting new membership, 30 new members, or 30% more members. I believe it's 62 to 80. And you projected many more usages because of day rate people or gas.
Right.
So wouldn't there be more revenue than last year? Why is the revenue projected to be the same?
I think maybe we had this discussion last night and that Tony has not had a chance to make adjustments based on that
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay. So this revenue sheet is yet to be
I don't,
adjusted
by
he
the-
wasn't able to attend, and I
Yeah,
don't think we
Tony
had a chance to
wasn't there
have
unfortunately
a
last year.
discussion with him and make the changes.
Okay,
So
so that's
I
a hopeful,
think
that's
it's
a good
great.
thing. That's
It's a good
hopeful
thing.
that the revenue,
Correct.
I'm gonna hope is going to be higher.
It can look better.
Yes,
Yeah,
it'll
it's
look
better.
better. Thank you.
Hey, Tony, and also to kind of add on to that, you know, being kind of cautiously optimistic here, there's some other factors that we all know that are going on that impact our membership. I know a while back, you know, Andy, you mentioned what percentage of people use the country club that are residents. Well, on the golf side, it's probably lower than it is on the pool side. On the pool side, it's a very high percentage, and those people know what's going on or what isn't going to go on. And so until there's a final resolution as to what's going to happen with the pool, we are always impacted in somewhat of a negative way with the uncertainty. So even if the number may end up being higher, I would suggest sticking with a very conservative number in the hope that there's a resolution and we're able to, by working with Casper on the marketing end, be able to overcome some of that. I'll tell you, well, you'll find us working very, very hard on the other come to some resolution. Right.
Yes.
You know, that's a given. I think everybody's agreed to work hard to get that. It'll make it easier for everyone to do their job, though.
Okay, are there any questions?
How do you monitor this pay? Do you have a band system or?
We, last year I sent out membership cards. We have membership cards for half-year rates and then as we go on, as the members come in, we generate a list of people. And the reality is sometimes people will forget their cards. So what I did, it was a good idea, one of my lifeguards, is I duplicated the cards, and in the front binder, we have all the people that are members, what their category was, and then if they need to, flip through the book and say, oh, there's Janie Shearno's membership card right there.
But for the dailies, like if you're missing these dailies, do you have a system so you would know, like if there was a band, is it worth the while to maybe buy bands? Because how many of you, if you miss a couple, it would be worth the cost of a band.
Right.
How do you monitor?
Well,
Is it just by visual?
Right, I mean, the number the Board of Selectmen gave me was 5, okay? All I know who's there because I'm there and who's members. I do know the number did not rise to say someone coming in 20 times or even over 10 times. If I let that number scoot up to like 7 or 8, be honest, I did it because some of our revenue was down and I wanted the money to come in to rise our revenue increase. So if
I'm
that's
talking about people who come in and don't pay the
Well, it's the
daily,
same as
right?
recreation. Recreation has a pass checker at the front of the pool. Nobody gets past the pass checker. They come in, they ask him there, do you have a card, do you have a number? If you don't, you pay. He has his guard sitting right there. They walk up, they walk through the doorway, they come in, they stop. The guards are right there. They talk to the guard, they ask who they are. If their name's not on the list, they pay. That's the only way they can get in. They can
John,
get
you
in.
weren't here, but somebody sent a letter saying that it's her observation that people were going in without paying. That's what brought up the conversation.
And I think I've heard
Just so you know,
that.
that was how we got it.
That's the crux.
We've heard that question before,
You know.
and you know, that, I guess my question to that person would be, do you know and understand, or you think and feel? Okay? Just because you saw
I'd
the
like to
person
ask-
came in, hold on, John.
Go ahead, I don't ask a
Okay,
question.
and based on that concern that was brought up, because Jane brought it up too, because there was confusion with Casper collecting money, because they don't have the same ownership in the collection of the fee as we would, and that's why we approved the iPad, so that way, when they come to the front desk, person sees them, that they can't say, oh, I paid over there, or, nope, I need you, swipe, and that resolves it, and they gotta get past that desk there to get into the pool.
Well, maybe she was wrong. We just.
My question on your letter, was your letter signed by the resident? Was the
Yes.
letter you received signed?
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It was-
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. If the letter was signed by a resident,
Yes.
then that's fine.
Yes,
That
in response to
that means,
Yes.
okay. A lot of times we receive letters, people send things in and say things, they don't sign it, I don't accept that. But if a letter was
Yes.
signed
Yeah.
by a resident like this, and that letter's acceptable, that that person saw that. And I can't say we're 100% positive that everybody was caught like this, but I know Anthony, I know how he works, and that we'll share it up, and we'll get guards there and make sure that everybody that comes through has to have something. You know, and if if you don't have that, you get all you do is get a stamp for the day. Get one of those little stamps. Those are even cheaper. That would pay for it in $5. You could do that. You just stamp the person you're paying for the day. Just stamp them.
Ellen, I
We
do,
approved the iPad, but we will need Wi-Fi a little bit closer to the pool. Otherwise, we're gonna have to get a telephone line for the iPad, which is really kind of a waste of money.
Ellen, in that note, I mean, anyone can complain or give their opinion on something.
Believe me, I understand that.
No,
think
I
the
just wanna
issue's-
know
the issue's
is
done.
that whatever
The letter
myself,
went to the
I-
commission.
myself or my staff, we take what we do very seriously. And if any member of the Board of Selectmen came and looked at our internal systems of monitoring where the cash goes at the end of the day, what we're doing, where the checks and balances, to the regard, Tony saw I found a safe and Bethany Recycles and I mounted a safe. So we have, and all the checks and balances system are in place so that people could say, yeah, we're being fiscally prudent with what's coming in, so.
Did you just say that letter came to the commission, or it came to?
I believe it was commission and to me, it was, you know, Anthony
forwarded.
sent
It was
out.
forwarded to us. That was the letter that we saw.
It was one of the letters from today, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's somebody who had left the pool, and the reason she didn't like the fact that you could only go 5 times a year, so that's why she rejoined.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're all done unless there's more questions.
Can I ask a question of Tony? Sure. Just under 55,210 gas. Yeah, 11,500. But when I look at the breakdown further in our package, it shows 12,500, 6,500 for pool propane, and then 6,000 for clubhouse propane for the towels, which we discussed once before. And I'm also wondering, to that extent, what does this definition mean underneath it? Price per gallon, and then the number comes to 78.75. Are we saying we're making a savings, or do you see where the explanation under clubhouse
Yeah, I
propane
see
for
that.
towels B is?
So we also, there's an estimate of the total propane, but we also have propane for the facility in the Country Club of Woodbridge budget, because it also heats hot water. And to the
splitting
extent,
the baby?
yes, we split some of the propane costs up as
Okay.
best we can between the Country Club budget and this
So though it
budget.
shows more here, part of that's actually going to
Correct.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, anything else on the pool? Okay, then let's have recreation, 1510.
Can you wait 30 seconds? Because I just got done. We got 6 people out tonight. I reckon I had to work.
Want to put paints on?
I've got to use the bathroom.
Please.
So I have 2 questions. One is there a way to look at consolidation of the copy?
Anything, water, cold, warm, hot.
Ooh, this seat's hot. What happened to the guy before me?
Up, everything's pretty much looks like a flat budget. The biggest item is obviously regular assistance and
1510.
banking.
Okay, basically in the budget, I have no control over 3 things, all right? Minimum wage went up, and that was a $14,471 increase. credit card costs, for the credit cards, we went online, we have a credit card cost, and that was $7,736. And the summer bus fee went up $30, just went up $30 on that list. So that total of no cost, no control that I have over those costs is $22,237. The only thing that I'm asking for $3,689 above the cost like this, and that was for the pool director. And the pool director that we have now, Teresa Bonner, is making $18.62 an hour. I have workers that work for me that are making $21 change, $22, and she has a tremendous responsibility. She's in charge of the entire pool, the pool lessons, everything like this. And Jim and I were looking at it, and we said Anthony Taddy, being the pool director, around $23, somewhere in that range he was making. So I was asking for her to have $23 an hour to pay her that, and moving her salary from $13,904 to $17,250. I think that's fair because she's the pool director and she shouldn't be making less than other people that have no responsibilities at all or minimal responsibilities, and she has a tremendous job, and she does a tremendous job. She does a great job. Her lessons are full all the time. She's on top of everything in the pool like that. So that's the only request that I'm asking for within the budget.
There actually was,
Bob has one.
yeah, last night, the commission took, basically reviewed a situation that's been going on for well over a year with John's situation. And last year, after the budget was submitted, we actually had asked for John's salary to be adjusted based on review that we had done. And this discussion has been going on basically, all year. And so last night we reviewed it, and we also looked at a document that that is a collection of other Connecticut recreation directors to look at what the average is. And I forwarded that to Tony and to Ellen today, so they have that to see what the average rec director is being paid. Obviously, we don't have access to John's personnel file to understand what has taken place over 37 years of John being involved with Woodbridge Recreation. But one of the things that became very clear to us, and I'll say what we did, and then I'll have John explain the differences in what he does. Okay, and I guess there's two things actually. There's some good news here before I actually get into that, and that is we did raise rates at recreation this year, 10% across the board. Part of that was to cover the 4% of the credit cards, to absorb that cost, and the others because we hadn't had an increase in 6 years. So that generates $53,000 in additional income. So when you start looking at how much your expenses go up, we're actually netting out spending less because we're bringing in more income from that side. However, in reviewing it and knowing where John's salary was at, we did unanimously approve at the recreation level to bring John to $42,000. That is significantly lower than what other rec directors are making in the state of Connecticut. Most of them are between $50,000 and $60,000, where they're in similar size towns. So I certainly can have John talk a little bit about, if you like, how his job has changed since he started. He did a marvelous job going through all that detail last night. I know you don't have your papers with you because you just came from refereeing a game, but I'm sure you know it right off the top of your head. So, John?
Before you do that, excuse me 1 second, Bob, I just want to clarify. So you're saying under 5114 Recreation Director, our budget should show your request of 42,000, not
Correct.
32,605.
Correct.
I just want to put it in the appropriate place so I know what we're talking about. Thank you. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
Okay, and with adding that in, I went over and I looked at our budget, and we added up our budget. We went up on our fees. We haven't gone up on our fees since 2010. So this year is the first year we went up on our fees. And if it works out the way it is, with the summer camp being back, Beecher, and being the pool being open full time and running on top notch the way it is, I'm looking at an increase of about $53,000 in income. Of that, the cost of the budget is $32,000. Okay, that includes the cost of my raise like this, $3,000 for Teresa's salary, and that leaves us with a net increase in our budget of $17,074 that we would have. And so all those increases, the minimum wage, the credit cost, the bus, everything would be covered under the increase in fees and regulations. Bob's talking about, there were 29 different things. I don't have it with me because I just rushed over. We had 4 people out, and as the recreator, I learned something in New Haven. They have a thing called Kids First. You can't let a program drop just because, you have to be there. As a director, I had to be there, so I had a referee and coach at the same time. I had two things to do, so I had to be there tonight, and I should have been here an hour ago to help Tony, but I apologize for that. But beyond that, there's 29 different things that I didn't do when I first came in. We didn't have early bird swim. We now have early bird swim. I'm just trying to go off my head. After school programs, we just had our after school programs and evening programs were just Wednesday night basketball and Thursday night basketball. We now have Monday night basketball programs, Tuesday night basketball, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday afternoon at the JCC. We work in conjunction with the JCC. We work together, recreation and the JCC work together. Run a great program, a girls program. That program flows over to Monday night. We come over. Our residents are allowed, if you belong in Woodbridge, when we have a joint program with the JCC, we pay the JCC fee price what they would pay. Their membership price is the same. We charge everybody the same. And Alan Greenberg and I work together on that. The fitness room. The fitness room, there's now a day fitness room. The fitness room was just an evening fitness room. It was 5 days a week, Saturday 9 to 12, Sunday 9 to 12. The times have expanded. We now have a morning. We're there in the morning. So I come in the morning, I check to make sure that's running. I come in the afternoon. My hours are all over the place. They're morning, afternoon. We have a running club. We never had a running club before. I do the running club 3 days a week, fall and spring. We're there 3 days a week. I'm there at 6:30 in the morning. I walk the entire course because unfortunately one day there was an animal that was killed and was left on the track by wild animals or whatever it was, and the kids got all upset. So now I go there a half hour before everybody. We're 7 to 8:15. I'm there at 6:30 in the morning, make sure the track, everything like that. I just make sure the program runs correctly. We're getting about 70 kids, 60 to 70 kids every morning at rec. We averaged about 64 kids. It's unbelievable, the kids that come before school to be a part of that program. We work with the Beecher teachers, Sandy Simowitz, helping us run the program. But we never had an ice skating rink. We now have an ice skating rink, and actually the ice skating rink is up and running. It's running all week. But God's going to bring us some warm weather, so. But that'll be nice. It'll wet the top, it'll freeze up, and it'll come back over. The softball. Softball, we had only 4 teams. In softball, we had 4 teams. We use Center Field and West River. We now have 6 teams. We use Center Field, West River, and Amity. So on a Wednesday night, Matt knows he comes all the time. He's at the games. You either play at Center Field, you play at West River Field, or you have to go to Amity Junior High School to play. There's all these different. There's so many different things. There's 29. I'll have the list for Tony. Tony, I'll give you that list. I'll write it up and give you. I apologize for not having, but I want to rush over. We actually had the TV on at rec, and we saw you guys. I saw Anthony here, and I jumped in the truck and ran. To get us. Oh no, he's on.
I think just to give some perspective on this,
it's in the minutes too.
When John was originally hired, and as we've learned recently, technically John's an exempt employee, and his original hours were negotiated at 13 hours a week. I've had the chance to look at John's timesheets because he still keeps timesheets even though he's an exempt employee, and he works significantly more than I looked at. It was 26 hours a week. And when he was going through this last night with us, I get up at 5 o'clock, I check the weather, I do this, I say to myself, you're working a lot more than that. We are very fortunate to have someone like John Adamovich as our rec director. In looking at the list of all the directors in the state of Connecticut, there are only 3 rec directors in the state of Connecticut making less than what John is making right now. And based on the town's personnel rules of January 2007, 3.1, it states in there that our position should be competitive as we pay people, and I don't think we are, and I think that we can do a better job. And I understand it's going to be a very tight budget year, but this seems to me, and as we became aware of it, somewhat, it's not your fault. It's just really, it's been an oversight, and John has been very willing to do what he's done for the town. Really, I kind of look at his job as been really half working and half volunteering for the town for many, many years. And everywhere you go, whether it be him, he runs the road race. We took over the concerts a number of years ago. He runs that. It's just the amount of things that they get involved with. When we did getting involved when the concerts expanded to add the Taste of Woodbridge, John got involved with helping out with that. Just so many things. I looked at his schedule. I was looking at those timesheets. I go in for an hour and a half. I go home for an hour. I go in for 2 hours. I go home for an hour. I say, how are you going to hire someone for that? Eventually, John retired from teaching a few years ago, and obviously that also enabled him to be able to even work even more. Unfortunately, he does have a very good staff around him, and has some very good people. But we are going to be faced with, as we move forward, that at some point, John will need to be replaced, and it will really be kind of unfortunate if we haven't really planned towards that. And also, in my opinion, a little bit of kind of a slap in the face also, and we realize, okay, well, thanks, John, for doing it at the lower rate when other rec directors, I know it's a little bit of a surprise here, but, we're just trying to deal with it and do it the right way with this valuable employee.
The only thing I can say is, with Jim and I were working today, we do background checks for like 200 to 300 employees, and they have to be done every year. We have to do a background checks, and Jim and I review them. And I've gotten a few back that came back with hits on them, and I have to go over to the Woodbridge Police Department and go over to sit down with them, go over it. And if the hit has nothing to do with children or anything like that, drugs or children or anything like that, or alcohol, we review it, and then we could allow a person to work this. And there were one or two that had to be released that we didn't hire. We didn't give them a chance to hire because their background checks showed that they were involved in something that we couldn't have them around children at this point. We did that. Basically, that was just something that we do. Also, I'm losing it. I can't remember. My memory's so poor. It's okay. We'll get it done.
That's why we're short, so you keep.
It is in the minutes, I believe. I saw
Yeah,
something.
most of this, Jim put it in. Jim put it in for you, but I'll write it up. I'll have it typed up tomorrow, and I'll give it to you or Tony, so you can have a full list of all the different things that have been added on that we worked on, that we've added to the program.
I think, John, we're well aware of your service to the town.
Okay.
And I remember you as a very young man going to work for Bob Lamell.
Well, I'm so glad that Bob Lamell gave me one bit of advice. He said to me, John, when you take over as recreation director, hire good people because they do a good job. I have David Cohen, Steve Cahoon, and David Smith. Teresa Bonner, Chris Bonner, Jimmy does a fabulous job in the office. John DeMayo. These people go above and beyond. They come like this. I have to actually, Nick Dottori, I asked him this year, I said, Nick, make sure you hand a timesheet in before the season starts. Nick's our summer camp director. He and Beth Young do a fabulous job running that program and overseeing it, and I always just oversee them, and I have full faith in them. But these people are good people. They do a good job, and that's how you run a good department, having good people under you. You know that. Look who you have under you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for John or anybody else?
Thank you.
Can I have one question for Jim? Jim, the $7,736 somebody brought up before too, the banking, is the 4% that you hope, that you expect to be charged for the credit cards. But I just wanted to, that's the worst case scenario, right? It looks like you took what your total projections
Yes.
of revenue are and said if 100% of the people did it on credit
That's what we
card, that would be our max charge.
Right.
So
Exactly.
actually, hopefully, it'll probably
It'd
be
be
less.
less.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying last night, the first, our fall, we paid maybe 50% registered online. Now this time it was like 60%. So more, now that the word's getting out, more people are taking advantage of the online. But so, for this year, it's a learning experience to see what our numbers will be.
And thank you for us being able to get that piece put in the rec track and that into the system, because there's some other benefits in terms of you don't have people coming into the office, where you don't have a lot going on, where from a security standpoint, it makes Jim more efficient. Plus, also from a scheduling standpoint, it's more predictable. The people are going to be participating in your program, so you can schedule appropriately for those programs. So all in all, it's a great thing.
And we try to shoot for 200 to 225 participants in our programs during the fall, winter, and spring. In the fall, we shooting for 200, we got 250. And this winter, we're shooting for 200, 225, and we're 274. So that's our programs, and this online is really starting to help. And I just want to say to the people out in TV land, please register before the date of the program. We need to know ahead of time how many people we're going to hire, or if we can run a program, because Jim and I ran a program the first week, and we said, okay, we needed 6, we only got 4. We talked to the vendor, and we said, look, we'll eat the cost of 1, you eat the cost of 1. The guy said, okay. the day after the program started like this, the next day Jim got 6 people to register. We went right beyond the thing like that. And at the end, we ended up with, I think, 12. And then we ended up with 12 people. We were gonna almost cancel the program, but we ran it, and we ended up with 12.
I only
Please register.
I only have one question. The mechanics are dealing with making the change that we made last night, because I know what's in front of you does not reflect what we voted on last night. The mechanics of how that will take place to find its way to the book and that type of thing.
The, in terms of the, request is generally the request that comes to the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance from the Commission. So you actually voted on it last night. So what we'll do is we'll change the requested figure in the, actual budget document here to reflect your new request. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
very much.
Thanks, guys. So we'll see you all Thursday night.
Do we have to?
Should be easier than that.